One of the first books that I read as a young nationalist many years ago was Camp of the Saints. And it's had an immense impact on me, as it did on many of us at the time. I've reread it a number of times since the first time. But I've always viewed it, and everyone viewed it, as a warning and not as a how-to manual, a sort of dummy's guide to giving away your own country and destroying your own civilization. And looking at the migration crisis now into Europe from Africa and from the Middle East, this now very clearly is an existential crisis, not just for individual countries, but for our entire civilization. It's all the more dangerous because of the brilliant and ruthless exploitation of the terrible pictures of that dead little boy and similar pictures from Greece and Turkey and so on. The liberal elite have always wanted mass immigration. All they need is a different excuse, and this is yet another excuse for destroying our society. There's one thing I'd particularly like to get across, which may be useful for people in arguments, that it's very difficult to argue against looking after, helping refugees when it appears that they're fleeing, they really have no choice. So I can tell you that I've been to Syria a number of times. I was there in June. The last time I was there, I met with the leaders of various different Christian communities and denominations, and all of them said one thing in common. We don't want to leave. Don't evacuate the Middle East of its Christians. Tell the European politicians to shut the doors. And how the Christians in Syria and in Damascus, people are perfectly safe. It's not a war zone. How they see it is that there's actually a vicious, it's not a conspiracy because it's quite open. There's a vicious move afoot in the Middle East to ethnically cleanse it of Christians. And there's a common interest between, on the one hand, the Wahhabis, who want all the Christians out of the Middle East because they're Wahhabis, and on the other hand, the Zionists, who work very closely with them, who want all the Christians out of Greater Israel because they understand that one day they'll be able to purge all the Muslim Arabs from Greater Israel. But really, Western public opinion wouldn't accept them doing that to Christian Arabs. So they're using ISIS and the soft-hearted stupidity of people in the West to do their job for them. And in taking immigrants, vast numbers from Syria and other places like that, we're not only destroying, in due course, our society, our culture, our traditions and religion, we're also helping to destroy the society of the Middle East. We're helping to destroy Christianity in the place it was born. And by taking the Christians out, you're also then leaving no buffer, no moderating power or element between the Sunni and the Shia schism, and it guarantees that all those countries, Syria, Lebanon and so on, will degenerate into total and permanent anarchy and civil war, which means even more refugees coming to us. Obviously something has to be done, there has to be an answer, and it's really very simple. All Western politicians have to do to stop the flood is to deal with the people who created the problem in the first place. And that, of course, is the United States. It is Britain. It was France as well, with Britain destroying Libya, the Libyan government. But most of all, Western politicians now need to say, to solve the problem in Syria and places like it, that they will deal pressure the Saudi Arabians, the Qataris and Turkey more than anything else, because it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Turkey who are funding and arming ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and creating and perpetuating this chaos. The refugees will keep on coming. We can't take all of them. There's simply not the space. The only way to stop those people trying to come and to stop them drowning on the way is to deal with the problem at source. It's not for us to go in and flatten large parts of Syria, to go in and yet again flatten large parts of Libya, but it is for us to say to our so-called allies in the Middle East, it's now time for you to stop playing these games because they're killing huge numbers of ordinary people. So get out of Syria, stop interfering in Syria, and leave the Syrian government to deal with ISIS and Daesh, which they could do very, very easily, and thereby returning peace to the Middle East and cutting off this flow of mass migration to Europe just in time so that we still have a Europe.